So might there be room for a reset? Is a smoother bilateral relationship even possible during the second Trump term? With me now to unpack that is Derek Burney. He's a former Canadian ambassador to the U.S. and former chief of staff to Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. Hi, Mr. Burney. Pleasure to see you. Thank you for making the time. I like the hat.
What's up?
I wanted to start off just on the question of what was certainly, a tone shift to denote on Friday. We haven't heard the President of the United States say a single complimentary thing about Canada in the entirety of the time he's been in office since January 20th. What do you make of that, if anything?
Obviously, I'm encouraged by the change in tone. I would like to think that somebody sensible finally got to him, but I'm not sure that that's the case. It's hard to read the tea leaves of somebody who doesn't drink tea. So I think we have to wait and see what happens on April 2nd, because Donald Trump's actions are more important than what he says. He says different things at different times on the same subject, but what he does is very clear. And, well, as I say, I'm encouraged by the change in tone. And I do hope that he's getting some serious advice from people who know better. It remains to be seen. I mean, his comments on April 2nd have been, on the one hand, he says he's going to be somewhat lenient. Then on the other hand, he says he's going to be more forceful than ever. So who knows? We just have to wait and see. But it's better to have a more positive tone between the president and the prime minister than the previous situation. I grant that. But we have to wait and see what really happens on April 2nd.
Well, even on that comment that we aired shortly thereafter, he referenced, and I think actually we heard a bit of it even in the clip we played, Liberation Day, right? He is still calling Wednesday, this idea of reciprocal tariffs, Liberation Day. It feels just, even from a political perspective, like it would be a big shift for him to all of a sudden back away wholly from what he is promising to do fundamentally, which is reorder the trade relationship the U.S. has right around the world.
There's going to be a lot of action on April 2nd, and it's going to hit a lot of people, a lot of countries, no question about that. The only source of, or whatever you call it, tentative encouragement is the idea that there should be a high-level political dialogue between Canada and the United States, not only on the issue of the tariffs, but on defense, national security. That's a weakness for Canada, and we have to show that it's not going to continue to be a weakness if we ever get to that kind of a dialogue. So, as a former diplomat, where there's hope, there's always possibility. We have to hope that he is somewhat sincere and wanting to have a dialogue with whomever emerges the victor in the election in late April. But, everybody should be on guard. I mean, the damage to the auto sector in particular is a major concern for me. I have no idea how the customs officers are going to apply and implement the tariffs on anything other than exclusively American vehicles. It makes no sense. These industries are totally integrated and have been for, 50 years or more. But, what makes sense and what makes good politics are two different things. What discourages me, Vashi, is that the Republicans in the Senate have been as docile as little lambs in dealing with his actions on tariffs. Keep in mind, the Congress has the authority on tariffs, not the president. He's invoking some obscure national security element of a trade law that was passed in the 1930s to justify what he's doing. It makes no sense. It makes no sense for Canada in particular. I mean, the whole argument about fentanyl is about as bogus as you can get. What I hope will happen after April 2nd is that we will start, the government that is, will start to litigate on that issue in the U.S. courts. Mr. Trump's not making a lot of headway in the courts with some of his executive actions. And I think there's a lot of scope for Canada to block whatever tariffs are put in place on April 2nd on the grounds that there is no national security justification for them.
And just one final question for you. I've just got about a minute left. As far as a government's response, because we are, as you pointed out, in this unique situation where we're in the middle of a federal election campaign, what's your best advice for the more immediate response should tariffs come through this week, as in the form the president is saying they will?
I think the government has a good game plan on retaliation, selective retaliation, hitting where it hurts. That makes sense. One suggestion I would add, though, I hope the premiers would stay out of Washington for a while. I think they should concentrate on getting rid of the interprovincial trade barriers and let the people in Ottawa deal with Washington. Scattered messages by premiers visiting Washington, especially messages that capitulate on what was threatened, make no sense and only weaken our case. So we've got to get our act together as Team Canada. Let the feds do what they do. Let the provinces do what they have responsibility for, and that's interprovincial trade.
Okay, I'll leave it on that note. Mr. Burney, a real pleasure to have you on our program today. Thanks for your insights.
Thank you, Vashi.